From the UK
to Cannes, France.
This week we're talking to Jannat Suleman from The Amateur's Take about her experience in Cannes and what to be excited for from the festival.
This is The Film Angle.
Welcome to The Film Angle, a podcast where we dive deep into the latest releases and unearth the classics to better our cinephilic curiosity. I'm Alex.
And I'm Chris.
And today we're joined by Jannat Suleman from The Amateur's Take, who's just been to the Cannes Film Festival and is going to be sharing her experience with us and telling us what we should be getting excited about. Now, more about Jannat. Jannat is a British-Pakistani film critic, writer, and programmer who's based in Yorkshire. And this is not actually her first time on the podcast. We met at the London Film Festival. You can hear Jannat during my solo episode from that time last October, where we briefly spoke about some of the films that we had seen during the festival. And ever since then, I wanted to get Jannat back on the podcast, and I've been waiting for the right time. And but since that time, Jannat, you've had an amazing streak with The Amateur's Take, and you've even curated talks at the BFI, which is just amazing. So welcome to the show.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Very, very flattering introduction. Really appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a very hectic few months, but as I'm sure we'll all agree, busy is great. Busy is good.
Absolutely. How did you get into curating at the BFI? I'm really intrigued by that. That was such an amazing thing to see you do.
Yeah, do you know what? It was for the Women with a Movie Camera Summit, and they've been running that since 2018. And for the first year ever this year, they opened it up to freelancers and just people that they had never worked with before. So they had an open submission section, very low effort, 150-word idea that you develop with them. And it was through that. I think otherwise it's very hard to kind of get on that radar, you know. So it was nice to just have like a clean slate, ideas only, valued opportunity. So it was that really. I was back there on Tuesday talking about that exact process, how people can get involved for the years ahead, because I think they're really looking for new talent, which is always nice to hear.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And you've been on the up since we spoke to you at London. So amazing. But I guess for some of our audience, they may not know you, and we didn't give you a chance to do the thing that we do with all our guests on the episode during that period as well. We didn't give you the chance to do your top 4 films, or not so much your top 4 films, but 4 films to get to know you, to allow our audiences to get a bit of a taste of kind of what you're into. So
yeah, I like the differentiation, because definitely I think the 4 films probably represent me are probably not 4 fantastic films, you know. That's probably the case, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's like we did a top 10 comfort film list, and it's a similar thing. It's films I like to fall asleep to, and I watch more frequently, but I wouldn't say they're like the best films of all time. Yeah, there's a little bit of snootiness behind that, but it is what it is.
Whenever anybody like asks you at work what your top 4 films are, you're like, oh man, if I tell you my top 4, I'm going to come across a little bit pretentious, but I do love all the other things as well. I love Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. 4 films is like, that's tough, you know? Yeah, in London Film Festival terms, that's one day. You know, so when you look at it that way, right?
Exactly.
But in the spirit of that, I think the first film probably presents me quite aptly is the live action Cat in the Hat from the mid 2000s. I love that film.
Wow.
So much.
That movie is chaos.
Chaos. I watched it way too many times as a kid. I know the special features on the DVD like the back of my hand. I love that film so much.
That's brilliant. I'm a big fan of Mike Myers, and actually I saw the preview pop up on Netflix yesterday for Canne, and I was like, oh man, I can't remember if I liked this film or not. And then just watching the preview, I was like, I really like Mike Myers. I'm sure I was a big fan when it first came out, as bizarre as it is a film.
Just bizarre, yeah, totally like a fever dream. I just think it doesn't age. It's kind of timeless. But then like total whiplash. Dev Patel's Monkey Man. Love that film. His directorial debut. Really love that. Like kind of South Asian John Wick. Totally up my street. Love that so much.
Totally.
And then Kneecap. Loved Kneecap. Loads.
Okay. Yeah,
really great film. was never a fan of their music before that, but I just thought like it was just such a nice new world. Like you hadn't seen that kind of music biopic before, you know.
Definitely.
And then I'm Pakistani, I'm South Asian, so like a big Bollywood film, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham, that's like the big 2000s one. I love that film as well, so that would be my fourth. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. Tell us more about the last one there, because I don't know if I've heard of that one.
No worries. So it's like I'm trying to think of the equivalent big film in like Hollywood. I think the same way that like Bridget Jones and Legally Blonde have a hold on people, think of if it was like a family drama, this film like really had everyone in chokehold, still has everyone in a chokehold. Like it's like 3 hours long. Nearly everyone knows who Shah Rukh Khan is, right? That was like his big defining film that people from like all backgrounds like have seen him somewhere, and that's usually where they've seen him. Yeah, definitely does not go with everything else on that list at all. Okay. But I remember seeing the DVD, you know, in like a DVD rack at home when I was younger, and always watched random sections of it with my mum. So yeah, I feel like I've definitely crossed genres there loads. But yeah, that one kind of hits family drama, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, the bizarre, wacky family comedy.
Yeah, for sure.
Cat in the Hat, and then go, you know, more into your roots and all that kind of stuff. That's a good mix there. And Kneecap I only got to at the end. Actually, no, I think I saw it at the very start of this year, and it's kind of like that madcap kind of biopic. That's just a lot of fun, and I love the fact that Kneecap play themselves in it, because you can't really tell like the border between like truth and fiction is just so blurred in that film. Some of it you are like, I hope this is fiction.
Yeah, absolutely. I was I got a ticket from a friend to go and see them with a Q&A after the film. And they are literally just themselves. It's crazy that they literally just play themselves. Great film, really good film.
Nice. Yeah, there's no pretense. I feel so shamed. Like, I'm from Belfast and I haven't seen the movie yet. Like, I don't know what's stopping me, because I actually kind of am a fan of Kneecap. It's just like, I don't know.
Didn't you go to school with one of them, or were you just winding me up when you told me that?
I didn't say that ever. You just made that up.
I would have used that claim to fame. I
could have sworn you told me that.
It's like every person you ever meet from in life that's not from Ireland asks you if you know so and so. It's like there's not 10 of us.
Maybe somebody was winding me up. I swear you told me.
I think that was a fever dream you were having, Alex.
Sorry about that. God, that makes me sound terrible.
Yeah, but Jannat, I'm really excited to catch up with that one. I need to catch up with it. Everybody says it's pretty great, and I do like. You know, we're all sort of sick of the typical biopic in a way, so it's cool to see something that subverts that and does something a little bit more like energetic. And it has Michael Fassbender, so, you know.
And it has Michael Fassbender, so you literally can't go wrong. Yeah,
absolutely. Exactly. Yeah, it's good to see him popping up in a few films again. I've missed him. Missed him since Frank.
Yeah, didn't he go away and do like a YouTube series with his cars or something like that? Like, I think he just did like.
That sounds like it could be true. I believe you if it's true.
Yeah, I think he just like got obsessed with rally cars for a couple of years and went away and did that, and then just came back to acting. Yeah.
I'm going to tell somebody this now at some point, and you're going to deny it. It's going to be very similar to the last story.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks for that, Jannat. Hopefully our audience now can see where your tastes lie and kind of your background and where you're coming from with your film criticism. And talking of which, you ended up in the last couple of weeks being able to go to the Cannes Film Festival, which must have been amazing. I can't remember who it was we spoke to, like a short filmmaker, and he was saying like the pinnacle of like the short film experience was being able to go to the Cannes Film Festival, and we very much agreed like that is the film festival. So like,
for sure,
how did you get in? How did you do it?
Do you know what, it was very lucky. So my age has a big part to play in it as well. So a part of the Cannes experience, or rather a part of the accreditation process, is specifically for those 28 and under, which, you know, gives you a huge advantage. So there's this pass called the 3 days accreditation, which I think has become a lot more popular over the years. I think it used to be 25 and under, and then they moved it to 28 and under, and they split the festival up into these 3 sections of 3 days each, and you can pick a preference. You want to go to the first, the middle, or the end. everyone wants to go for the end because there's a specific rerun schedule and program for those attendees. So I applied to that, and the application's very vague. You just have to write like a letter showing your dedication to cinema, however you interpret that to be.
Nice.
I think I was like waxing lyrical about taking a 3.5-hour coach to see a 3.5-hour film, which was The Brutalist at the time. And I think like I just kind of went off on one about that, and they liked it. So, got me in. It's definitely a long waiting process. You never know if you're going to get it or not. A lot of people try and book accommodation ahead of time. I didn't want to take the risk. I didn't really have my hopes up that much, but so I went for the last 3 days of the festival. So that was like the 22nd to the 24th inclusive. And it really is just such an overwhelmingly intense experience in the best of ways. You feel like you've got 3 days to make the most of your time, I think the most amount of films you can see on any day is like maximum 6 or 7 if you time it right and if you're lucky with your tickets as well. But that was how I got into it, that 3 days program. Otherwise I think it would have been really difficult.
Yeah, that's amazing that Canne are doing that and opening up the application pool. But yeah, being able to like kind of hear your voice talking about those films was really interesting during that time. Again, if nobody follows The Amateur's Take on Instagram, that's where I follow you mainly. I know you're on TikTok as well, and you've got the Substack. But it was great kind of seeing what you were up to out there, and then obviously onto your Letterboxd account as well. Tell us more about like Canne. Like I guess like in the similar way when I went for the London Film Festival for the first time, I was just like, how does this whole festival thing work? Is it a takeover of the whole of the location? Is it a town? Is it a city? I don't know.
I just remember Mr. Bean.
Yeah, me too. I think Canne is a city. I hope I'm geographically correct on that one. But that whole area, like that big quarter in the middle, is it just 100% taken over. I think it kind of helps that they have like nearly 10 purpose-built theatres for this kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
Where all those special standing ovations happen, all of that stuff. And they're like crazy variation in sizes. Like I'm sure like when you're at London Film Festival as well, how in the BFI there's like the massive NFT 1 and then like the tiny NFT 4, There were some screening rooms there for like this massive festival for Cannes that were the size of NFT 4, and like these huge films are being premiered in these tiny rooms, and it is very strange. But that kind of cliche of, you'll meet people from like all walks of life. You literally do meet people from like every part of the world. It was quite insane. And obviously there is like a big difference in international acclaim between London Film Festival and Cannes. But even at London, there's like a massive mix of people. But then Cannes is just on another level, I think, because you can identify who's at Cannes by that lanyard that you've got to wear all over the place. I think it is kind of, you just look around and everyone is wearing that lanyard. Everyone's there to watch films the same way as you are. And I think the fact that there's such a mix of accreditations that, there were people walking around with press badges, people walking around with 3-day badges, filmmaker badges as well. And everyone's just there to watch the films, So it was quite nice and like kind of cliche, but kind of like unifying in that way. Everyone's just there to watch these films in like a really special place. But yeah, I think the city really lovely for the 3 days that I experienced it. It was very quick. But you do still have time to just mingle and explore with people. Like with any festival, there's like these group chats that get generated alongside, and they last for a little while after. Some of them are still going strong. So yeah, really beautiful place to have such an incredible festival, and I think it's run very well, I have to say. Yeah.
Did you experience any of these famous standing ovations? And what's your thought on them? What do you think whenever you're in that moment? Does it feel jarring as a British person who never sees any sort of emotion when you go to the cinema to start seeing these 15-minute applauses?
I mean, you've kind of hit the nail on the head. It was very jarring for sure. Yeah. I think I only witnessed one, and that was for Honey Don't. I was at the premiere for that. It was the only one that I went to, like official gala premiere with celebrity presence, that whole thing. Which, by the way, really strict experience. Like, had my phone confiscated for 15 minutes because I was trying to take a picture. Yeah, and I was begging this French woman to give it back to me. It was a very humbling experience. It was really, really humbling. But yeah, I mean, that happened to a lot of people because they're a little bit hit and miss sometimes on the rules where they put them, but that's just part of the experience, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems like
confiscated. Yeah,
it seems like they didn't communicate that to you at the beginning. And
well, it was like this weird crossover because Honey Don't was one of the only midnight screenings, midnight premieres. And usually for those ones, you don't have to go in gala dress code. You can go however you want. And that usually means that you can take photos and you can do whatever you want, but they kind of just blurred the lines on that a bit. But this poor girl got her like DJI gimbal confiscated and everything. So it wasn't just me. It was a little group of us that got, unified in that experience. But it for the standing ovation, very weird because you can see how awkward the celebrities are. Like the camera is just on their face for an unhealthy amount of time,
Yes. And it must be just like physically exhausting too.
Physically exhausting. Like you can, obviously we only know these celebrities so much, but Margaret Qualley sounds and looks like a lovely person. And, you can see that she's trying to stay lovely and kind and friendly. And, she's standing next to Ethan Coen, who obviously as director says a bit about the film, and they don't want to say things about the film. They've turned up, that they've done their bit. And I think it's always a little bit awkward for them. Aubrey Plaza and Charlie Day, who also star in the film, they had the short straw for sure. I think it was on them for like 5 minutes, just and like, what do you do with your face? What do you do with your hands? Do you keep clapping for yourself? It must be so awkward. But the way you described it, very jarring. And the bit you don't see is because I'd say it's like a little bigger than the Royal Festival Hall, the Grand Theatre Lumiere. It's a little bigger in terms of capacity, not by much. And pockets of people do just sit down and give up. You don't see that bit,
Yeah, I did wonder like who dictates the length, and I've heard that because the cameras are on the stars and the director, then obviously that dictates an element. The camera dictates. Okay. But at what point do you kind of like say, "All right, we're all collectively just going to wind down now"?
Yeah, it is actually. That is when it started. When the camera started to, I think, showcase the crowd instead of the celebrities. We were like, okay, it's 2:30 in the morning. We can leave now. We can stop clapping. But yeah, very weird. I think, it's controversial, but I didn't really want to stand for that long. I didn't think the film was that great anyway to be standing for that long,
Sure.
Yeah, a conflicting experience of like, I'm part of the Cannes standing ovation, but also I didn't really love this film.
It's like it's intrinsically linked to the director and star's status as opposed to the reaction to the movie. It's like about 10 years ago when you heard like, oh, so-and-so got like a 10-minute standing ovation, maybe that would have been exciting. And like now it seems like every movie's a 15-minute. You're like, okay, that means nothing to me anymore.
Such a good example of that, right? Is one of my favorite films of the festival was My Father's Shadow. It was not in competition. It was, I think it's been bought by Mubi now, by Akinola Davies Jr. British-Nigerian film. So good. Such a strong debut. And it got maybe like a 5 or 7 minute standing ovation because no one knew who anyone was in the film, right?
Yeah.
There's no
reception. Yeah, exactly.
There's no kissing ass, for lack of a better term, to be honest.
Absolutely. And because no one knew anyone in that film, critically, that's probably like ratio-wise gotten some of the best and strongest reviews out of the festival. In terms of how much British films go. Same with Urchin. Harris Dickinson's a pretty big name.
Yeah.
That probably only got like a 7-minute standing ovation, something along those lines. But, won Best Actor in the certain regard performances and things like that. So the numbers mean nothing in the grand scheme of things, But yeah.
It's just who we're excited to see kind of thing, maybe.
For sure.
Well, you've kind of alluded to there, some of the films you've liked and some of them you have disliked. Can you give us a sense then, maybe I'm trying to think how best to do it. Is it best to go from like worst to best or best to worst? Like what should we be getting excited for? Maybe like increasing amounts?
I think things to get excited about is definitely something that I've tried to take my time to reflect on as well, because similar with any festival, you do get lost in the hype and the buzz of it a little bit, but I think the sentimental value hype train is justified. I think that it is a very good film. But I do think because we've seen, I can only really speak for myself, but seen some of our favourite critics, saying this is the best thing ever, Neon's won it 6 years in a row, that kind of thing. You do have like this sense of, is it overhyped a little bit? But everyone makes their own opinion. It is a very good film. I think that when it inevitably comes to maybe a really limited distribution run in the UK, as it usually happens, if we're being realistic. When that happens, do take the chance to see it. It is a very emotional film. It is, I think, one of those films that no matter, as long as you're part of a family, you'll relate, they're very powerful universal themes. But then also, I think the British films were really good. My 3 favourite films of the fest were British. So My Father's Shadow, Urchin, and Pillion as well. They were 3 great films. Didn't intend to watch them all back to back, but that did happen. They were really, really strong. And I think it's just that these screenplays have been really strong this year so far. And I think that's what really excites me. I love when there's really strong dialogue. I love when there's really strong direction just in the writing. But then you have films like Canne Don't, which I don't think were that great. Just a weird film, guys. Weird film. I don't know how to describe it.
Interesting. I wasn't a massive fan of Drive Away Dolls. So same kind of feeling from that, maybe, that slightly off-kilter comedy that maybe isn't working quite so well. Though that film worked for some people. So
I mean, it has some cult following for sure. And I mean, like any film, every film has its positives that always credit it for its merits. But if you want to see Chris Evans doing some weird things for a change, I mean, watch the film. But other than that, I don't know what else it brings that is like, he does some weird things, some weird things.
Makes some choices.
Yeah, he makes some choices for sure. But yeah, I think it's fun to see, and this is like the whole standing ovation thing, is it's fun to see celebrities that you love do stupid roles like this, Yeah. But then when you put a name like Ethan Coen to it, you think, oh my God, this is going to be like high art. This is going to be really, really good. And then you kind of have to take a step back and think, was that high art? Was that really good? Because he's a Coen brother. Was that amazing? And my conclusion is no. I don't think that was amazing,
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, that's kind of 2 for 2 now. I mean, I'm not just going off your review of the film, because it seems to be the consensus that everybody kind of feels the same about both of these movies. So it kind of gives you an insight into maybe there's something missing that like Joel brought to the equation. Well, we'll see if those 2 get back together, or whether Ethan does another film by himself, and that'll really pin it for sure. But Pillion is a really interesting movie to me. To think that Alexander Skarsgård is playing a biker, and you have Harry Melling playing his submissive. That's all we get in the plot description. I want to know everything about this movie now.
Emotional, so emotional. The only 2 films that I cried at in the fest was Sentimental Value and this. And I think that speaks volumes, That kind of plot isn't something that I'm usually drawn to. I think similar plots that we've maybe had, I think Baby Girl was kind of similar on paper. I wasn't the biggest Baby Girl fan, so I didn't expect to be as, thrilled by this. But maybe it's the fact that it has different source material. I think it's adapted from a short story as well. Something good about, things that have something to rely on, like source-wise.
Interesting, because it only has a cast of 5 cast members, I believe. So obviously hyper-concentrated and linked to that sort of short story, aesthetic, as you mentioned.
Yeah, very minimal, but just... Yeah, like even just there, Alexander Skarsgård and Harry Melling, like people that you wouldn't expect to be paired together, but it just feels like it's so perfect. Skarsgård, I'm not usually a huge fan of. I think one of the last films I watched of his was Infinity Pool, and I hated that film. Really, really bad, in my opinion, anyways. But he plays such a similar character with such a softer sentiment in this film. So I think that is very much testament to the way that this has been adapted and the direction as well. In terms of, how minimal that plot is on paper, I think it's probably best to go in with just that, not to have an expectation that it's anything more. I think it's very much about identity, obviously about sexual identity as well, but just in a weirdly sentimental way. Yeah,
Skarsgård's kind of like not afraid to do anything. It's sort of like, I will go for the most extreme movie possible, please. Ticket for one. Seems to
always
be, he's awesome though. I really appreciate it. And interesting that he's kind of going up against his father. Well, not going up against, because I doubt there's anything combative there.
True.
But it's great to see it going up against him in sentimental value too. And yeah, we're big Skarsgård fans on the show. So yeah, it's like, there's also this sort of thing that, like, a lot of the big filmmakers like Lynn Ramsey or Julia Ducournau with films like Alpha, the ones like I was kind of really, really excited for and couldn't wait to hear about coming out of the festival. I don't know if you share this, Janet, but a lot of the tepid reviews kind of coming from those movies. Do you share those sort of views?
I think so. I think I'm not usually one that like tries to find patterns in the way that this is usually received, although it's the same big critics that go to the same big festivals, and so sometimes you have to kind of take it with a pinch of salt. Is this just one guy's opinion? But I saw the same thing as you. I didn't see the new Lynn Ramsey one. I really wanted to. That was a really hot ticket. No one was giving that up. No black market deals for that ticket were going. Nothing like that. So couldn't do that. But I did see Alpha. Really wanted to see Alpha. And I don't know whether I was just tired or whether it didn't make sense to me or did it just go over my head? I mean, the way I explained it to a few friends out there was I loved what I was looking at, but I didn't understand what I was looking at, if that makes sense, And sometimes I don't mind feeling like an amateur, forgive the pun. I don't mind that. I kind of embrace just feeling like, okay, I would love someone to explain that to me. I want to understand that. But people were trying to explain it to me and I still didn't understand it, So maybe sometimes you got to just admit that, okay, maybe I just can't access that film and maybe that's fine. But yeah, she is an artist for sure. And, Lynn Ramsey was some of my first exposure to like really brutal filmmaking and really brutal themes. Like Morven Caller was one of the first films I watched at university, and I loved that film, as weird and chaotic as it is. But maybe is it because we've paired like someone like Lynn Ramsey with like Robert Pattinson, Jennifer Lawrence, and that star power's come into the equation? Are we expecting too much? All things I can't say because I've not seen the film, but that's just what I'm thinking,
Yeah, they're like the YA heartthrobs of our childhood.
So true. You've
Hunger
literally
Games
hit the nail on the
head.
Yeah.
There's a lot of expectation there, and it's really interesting. And I think as well, like there's expectation even when it comes to Alpha with Julia Ducournau, because I was a big fan of Raw. I loved Raw, and I didn't overly love Titan, but she immediately came out the gates as somebody who was like, I'm going to make kind of polarizing films that are going to shock you a little bit. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it seems like both those films have split audiences. Like, Chris, I'm pretty sure you're a big fan of Titan, right?
Yeah, I love both movies. I think Raw is, I think it's her more like narrow, this is the allegory and I'm following it, and it's very easy to follow and it hits really hard and it has that punch. Titan kind of goes off in a completely different direction, but still has that emotional punch for me, despite all of its gruesome qualities. I still love both of those movies, and like it's enough. Like I am going to watch this next outing from her. It's a must watch for me. It seems to be a trend with French filmmakers at the minute there. All Hollywood horror movies seem to be quite, I don't know, not have as much venom or teeth to them as of late, and European filmmakers just showing us how it's done. So I appreciate it for that value alone.
You'd almost be a little bit sad if the film was just like overly loved by everyone. It needs to be polarizing.
I think that's what kind of draws the attention though now, doesn't it? I mean, we're all in a space where people are always like, oh well, everyone's a critic, and everyone is really a critic now, especially with how integral Letterboxd is a social media app. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's for the better, but the polarizing nature of like every film is super palpable coming out of Cannes. Like everyone, I don't know, sometimes it feels like people want to really love or really hate something, there's no in between. Like I was talking to some people out there about at what point does a rating sound bad? And controversially, I don't think 2.5 out of 5 is a bad rating for a film. I think that's the last good rating you can have. 2 out of 5 sounds bad, but 2.5 is okay. It's 50%.
I agree. There are some films that I have a lot of fun with, but they're not subjectively or objectively good films, so I can't go higher than the 2.5. But I'd be like, I'd stick it on again, But I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it. There's that element to a 2.5. You're right. 2 stars.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Or if it's the other way, I don't know. I'm not speaking for you, Janet, but Alex and I were kind of a little bit disappointed with the new Mission Impossible movie. A little bit. We spoke about that on the show, and I'm like a 2.5 of that, because I'm like, it's not really working for me, but it's so handsomely made and so much effort put into it that I can't really go any lower. It's like there's that aspect to it as well. But then there's also like the schlocky movies that we know are bad, but we like to. So yeah, it works both ways.
You're so right, though. Mission Impossible was like a really well packaged end to a franchise. I think I gave it 3 in the end, and I watched it with my family, as we have like all the previous ones. And when I disclosed that in the car on the way back, there was tension. He can't just give it a 3 like it's the final Mission Impossible. And but yeah, I think 3 out of 5 is good, and I think you can't discredit some of those stunts, can you? So hard.
That is true. Yeah. That is true.
The submarine sequence is great. Submarine sequence is great. I really love it. I rated it quite low, and we had this conversation yesterday over the fact that I had rated the Netflix film La Dolce Villa higher than the new Mission Impossible film. And I said to Chris, I would watch that one again. It was so silly, it was so stupid, but I enjoyed it, and I was a little bit angry at Mission Impossible.
I think I think that is the best criteria, really. I think you should go with your gut, go with your heart. I think you should go rate a movie based on how much you enjoyed it. I really think above anything, or else you're just kind of lying. I think you're just pretending. Otherwise, when you stated that case, Alex, yesterday, I was like, "You're an idiot," and then afterwards, I was like, "God damn it, he's right."
Yeah, but also you said like rewatchability. I think that's a huge factor.
Sure.
You know, but then there are also those films that I think they're so good I could never bring myself to rewatch them again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're scared to revisit it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like one of those films for me is Whiplash. Like I love that film. Could I watch that again? I don't know. It like really put me through something. I really love that film. But yeah, I agree with you on the rewatchability thing. I don't know if I could rewatch Mission Impossible.
Yeah, not anytime soon. I'd have to let the dust settle and kind of my emotions just cool off a little bit.
Yeah, you got to reset.
There's a part of me, Janet, that thinks, what happens if you watch Cat in the Hat every day for the rest of your life?
I did that for a few months. And it wasn't bad. I came out the other end of it okay. I think that probably made me who I am. But
well, who am I to discredit that then?
I wondered if while we're talking, or at least we were talking about some of the bigger filmmakers and their films going to Cannes, whether we could just touch on one that we have only briefly mentioned before maybe going into some of the lesser known directors and finding out more about their films. But Joachim Trier's Sentimental Value, I was a massive fan of The Worst Person in the World. Just hit right at that perfect timing where I'm in my late 20s. And then I was very close to putting it on the eve of my 30th birthday. And I decided against it. I thought that might be too depressing. But that film just holds a very kind of big emotional place in my heart. And I was wondering, can you tell me more a little bit about Sentimental Value and what it's like as a follow-up to what is probably his most kind of like well-known and most recognized film?
I think it's a perfect expectation to have, having watched that film and, loving that film. I think is a perfect way to go into it. I think that's by design with Trier as well. I think he seems to be a man that is very thoughtful about the bigger picture and the way that his filmography is received. I think he seemed like a very conceptual man in his filmmaking around his themes. And I think if you were to kind of summarize his films, I think this film does feel very similar in its emotional impact. I wouldn't say that it did anything different for me in comparison to Worst Person in the World, but the impact was just the same, just as palpable, if not a little bit more enhanced by seeing it where I saw it, I think I love parent-child relationships in film. I just love when they're done in such different ways, because everyone's got a parent-child relationship in some way or another, and I love when everyone does that differently. I think it's like the most personal thing. And seeing the Skarsgård and, have that element brought to it with the fatherhood, I think he just plays such a good dad, but not in a good father, but just he does it so well. Like, it's just such an authentic depiction of fatherhood, being a parent, being a child. And I think, how can you not relate to that in some way or another?
That's
Wow.
and that's a lovely way to put it. And I completely understand the sentiment with those kind of relationships. They are really interesting to watch. And I think Stellan Skarsgård is on a bit of a I don't know, like an even more upward trajectory than he's usually on. He's always great, but obviously he's just coming off Andor, playing Luthen in that film, which I want to make a correction for last week's episode. I spent the whole episode calling Luther from Mission Impossible Luthen, and I think it's because I'd been watching Andor recently, and I got it so confused.
Amazing.
And
amazing.
I'm the worst co-host in the world because I actually recognized it in real time, and I didn't stop it.
didn't prevent it from happening. Amazing.
I just enjoyed the fireworks.
But he is a fantastic actor, so like getting to see him in this film. Is it an English speaking film then? Is it his first English speaking film? If it is,
not. I want to say there's probably better statistics for it than what I'm going to say here, but I think it's Norwegian. I think it's like 60% Norwegian, 40% English, probably.
Yeah, with Elle Fanning in the cast as well. Yeah. And she provides the majority of that 40% for sure. But then I think Skarsgård's the only other actor that we see dipping into English. Maybe my memory's not serving me great, but other than that, I'm pretty sure it's Norwegian anyway. It is Norwegian, right?
True is Norwegian. Skarsgård is Swedish, but maybe
crossover.
The countries are like right next to each other.
Exactly, so it's probably crossover there. But yeah,
or I'll be making another correction next episode.
Yeah,
probably
attacking that.
Yeah, it's not predominantly English speaking, so I think the only time that really matters is like for Oscar qualifications, right? Whether it can be in certain categories and things like that. So I don't know what the split will be. Can that make Best Picture or not? I think there's some statistics there, right? Or am I mistaken?
I guess it kind of reminds me of the whole Anatomy of a Fall thing, where it kind of fell into that sort of era. I guess it gives them only more opportunity to be in more award categories, I suppose.
Yeah,
interesting.
You
mentioned My Father's Shadow, which I believe was your favorite film from the festival. Is that right?
I would say so. I think it was one of the only films I gave 5 stars to. I think I couldn't think of a flaw. I still can't. I can't think of one. I think it was runtime was, short on paper, and you think, how are you going to explore something like that? How are you going to explore, the political situation in Lagos in that time period, and an estranged father and 2 brothers? How are you going to do all of that in runtime? Nothing felt unexplored. Everything felt understood. Emotions were just so high at the end of it, and just the beauty of what you're watching, undeniable. I think he is a very special man with a very special talent, Canne Davies Jr., and I think having the Mubi platform in the coming months for that is going to be really beneficial. For that, the Mubi touch is real, I think. And like what they've just spent so much money on Die My Love as well. So, definitely doing something good there.
They were the big spenders of the festival, weren't they? Usually it's a bit of a competition between them and Neon usually is the one that spends all the money. But yeah, Mubi are really kind of dipping their... I think they're even like dipping their finger into the production side of things now as well, aren't they? Instead of just distribution. So they're really gunning for it, and probably had like massive success with The Substance last year. And they're like, screw it, let's get the Oscar. Let's do it.
Huge. Yeah, I think somebody joked at the festival, just another visitor saying the way that we kept seeing The Substance marketing is going to be the way we see Die My Love marketing this year. That's going to be the new one. I think it's going to be, we're going to see Jennifer Lawrence everywhere. We're going to see Robert Pattinson everywhere. I still get Substance ads like every 4th Instagram story sometimes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. They're not stopping.
But yeah, no, that's really interesting about My Father's Shadow. And I think it's a testament to like why we have these kinds of festivals. That's a film I had not heard of, prior to a few weeks ago. For Akinola Davis to come in and make a very kind of succinct, 90-minute debut film. And if, as you said, it really kind of touches on all these different elements and brings together a really kind of tight film. I'm really interested. So that one's gone top of the list for me.
I think the other film I rated really highly was the Palme d'Or winner, was the Jafar Panahi A Simple Accident film. I loved that. Really, really
Nice.
good. Wasn't super familiar with him as a filmmaker prior. You know, you try and do all this like pre-Cannes homework where you kind of like watch these films, but it's a lot to do. It's a lot of homework. So as someone that was going in, I would say kind of blind to the gravitas that he has as a filmmaker. What an introduction. I think I said this in a review somewhere, but like the last 20 minutes of the film, I can almost remember like frame for frame. It's just so strong, and that's all I'll say. But it was just really, really strong. I think Cannes has a history of really, really rewarding Iranian cinema as well. Really platforming it a lot. I think, you know, when Panahi and a few others were arrested by the regime a few years ago, they came out with their own statement calling, you know, for them to be released and things like that. So they do love their Iranian filmmakers and they do stand by them. And you know, with the Palme d'Or again, they've just proven that.
There's a lot of great cinema coming out of there, and obviously it usually comes from a relatively sad place. We saw a lot with The Seed of the Sacred Fig last year, and we did an episode on that earlier this year as well, because I was absolutely blown away by that at the London Film Festival.
Great film.
Desperate for Chris to see it. And,
So
we had a really good episode on that. But yeah, it is really interesting, you know, the courage of kind of Iranian filmmakers to kind of shine a light on the different things going on over there. Has this got a bit of a kind of a political story to it as well then?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say it's to the same extent as Seed of the Sacred Fig. I mean, again, without giving too much away tonally, because I think those count as spoilers sometimes as well, but there were a few laughs in this screening, which you wouldn't expect. You know, like the room was laughing a couple of times. I think the way that it doesn't normalize the politics of it and like the impact of the regime, but it just puts us in a position where it feels the same level of normality that it feels for them. You know, and I think that's really skillful. Whereas Seed of the Sacred Fig was a very heavy film. It was a very heavy narrative. But I think with Panahi's latest, the heaviest part is those last 20 minutes, you know, and it all kind of builds up. It's like simmering the whole time. And just like a very good ensemble film as well. Like I wouldn't say that there's a main character per se. Everyone's got really good ties to the plot, but I'm on the verge of giving things away, so I'll just say it's definitely again, it's probably going to have a limited distribution here as well again, isn't it? But you know, if you can see it, for sure see it.
That is the thing with Cannes, isn't it? You end up seeing these films, but not usually with a wide audience or a wide release, which is kind of a bit of a shame. It almost seems like the Europeans, even though obviously we are Europeans, but you know, the French Europeans just love cinema so much. They just seem to be able to kind of like champion it a bit stronger than we do. But
I mean, I guess what's the process for, you know, I lived in the southwest of England and it's not the strongest area of the country for kind of showcasing that kind of work. And your job as a cinephile is to go online to your local art cinema and press refresh once every few days, and hopefully the movie that you want to come up is there. We could definitely do a better job of marketing, because these movies, like, they end up, you know, especially your neon films like The Substance, or the movie films like The Substance. You know, that was a real sort of, yes, it was heavily marketed, but I think word of mouth really did that movie a lot of favors. You know, to the point that a lot of people in my work who don't watch movies kind of come out to me and say, "Have you seen The Substance?" It was like, that movie was wild. It was great though. So you know, it would be great if more movies had that sort of level of platform. But you know, it's something we're figuring out. I think these movies are still a little bit more accessible than they were about 10 years ago when I couldn't see anything.
100%. Yeah, definitely. And I think this is where festivals like London Film Festival do help, because it means that 90% of these films people are going to hopefully get a chance to see in October. And even when London Film Festival comes, because I'm not based in London, non-London accessibility is always really important to me. But then they do have like a network of independent cinemas across the UK. Like, I'm very close to Sheffield, the Showroom Cinema here, and there's a couple of other independent. I think it's like Tyneside Cinema in Newcastle as well. They tour some of these big in competition films to these cinemas, so it does make it a bit more accessible. But it is just about, can the cinema put it on in the long run? That's literally all it is. And then with The Substance, I mirroring what you heard as well, like people that don't usually watch these kind of films had seen and hadn't heard of it. It's all that like pre-Oscars campaigning though, isn't it? Like they put their money into. So
that is true.
It's so true.
Yeah.
I was wondering as well, there was another film on here, Urchin, which is Harris Dickinson, who we've recently seen in Baby Girl. He's behind the camera this time. Well, he's behind and in front of the camera, I believe. He's in this film as well as directing it.
He is probably like maybe not even a total of 15 to 20 minutes in the film, but he's still there.
Okay,
he's still there.
Okay, so he's not like a main character or anything in Urchin. No. So what do you see from his kind of debut? What has he learned from kind of his previous performances, do you think, in and what has he brought to this film?
I think the Britishness, it felt very much like, and this might be a really generous statement, and some people might say, oh, that's way too generous for someone with just a debut, but he feels like modern day Ken Loach a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I really think that, with reflection, I think that fits it well. Paired with just, a clear political message that isn't shoved in your face, is all about like being unhoused and how being homeless affects even the most annoying or like horrible of people, that kind of thing. And just explores it from every perspective. Even the opening, like just being in Dalston and just like, that these people are from there. They're not being performative. This is just where they're from. It was just his story, just a story that he told based on the position that he is in to tell a story. And then he did all that promo with like a anti-Suella Braverman t-shirt as well, didn't he? Like
I didn't see that. That's brilliant.
I think there was like, and they made like limited edition runs of the t-shirt or something like that. It was something about how being homeless isn't a choice, that kind of that sentiment. But in terms of his ability as a director, it felt ambitious, but it really was the performance of Frank Delane, that lead actor that he collaborated with, that I think made the film feel so accessible. Because it's a heavy theme, isn't it? How do you cover something like that and make people laugh at the same time? But I think he did a really good job. It was a very French heavy audience in the screening I was in, and so I was laughing at a lot of bits that a lot of people were not laughing at. But
something gets lost in the sauce a little bit
there, doesn't it? Those French subtitles probably weren't doing some of the things justice. And it is also just like British mannerisms, isn't it? Like that we laugh at when it's awkward and things like that. So I think he captures that very well. He also doesn't often get to play a British character, does he? So, seeing a lot of that come out, it was really nice because, he was very American in Baby Girl, obviously, and things like that. And I think this is a nice opportunity for big actors to come back and contribute to smaller, more local stories, I think, as well. I think that would be a big hit here, I think. Urchin's going to be huge, I think. I can't really think of a similar film off the top of my head, but I think obviously the star power will help. Everyone loves a bit of Harris Dickinson,
So that Ken Loach aspect, does that sort of feed into the performances, that sort of naturalistic approach to acting? Because sometimes when you see actors transition into filmmakers, they bring those big performances with them. Is it something that you see a bit of restraint here? You can see Dickinson sort of like, just be yourselves on camera.
Yeah, just be yourselves. I think it felt is that social realist aspect. I think it's like, did you guys see On Falling recently?
Yes.
You did, Alex, yeah.
Big fan.
Yeah, it's like the tone of On Falling, but you are allowed to laugh. That's how I would probably summarize it. You know what I mean? And funnily enough, that's Ken Loach's production company as well, isn't it? On Falling. So I think accidental good comparison there, but that's the kind of tone, and the performances are very like socially realistic. And it just feels like it could have happened yesterday.
Yeah, I like that.
Very intriguing.
So, Jannat, after having now been to the film festival, as a first time, you make mistakes, and sometimes you find the magic trick. What would you give to somebody who's going to Cannes next year, or really wants to go to Cannes next year? What kind of advice and tips would you give to them about how to kind of go around the festival?
I think specifically from the 3 days accreditation angle, if people want to take that, the most important thing is be ready ahead of time. It works on a capacity-based system, and we're not entirely sure what the capacity is. I think rumors are like it's 3,000 per session. So it's not really that much in the grand scheme of things, you know. So if you do want to apply to that, you know, be very aware ahead of time what the opening dates for submissions and things are, which change every year. So they are quite good at publicizing that stuff. But if that is something you want to do, that's really important. I think if you're applying directly for press, it's a little bit more generous for sure. But I think with a more limited program, probably be prepared. And also, if you do go and you are lucky, the one mistake I think I made is I think I was blinded by the star power thing a bit too. I wanted to see the films that the actors that I knew were in, you know? Mm-hmm. I think my last film of the fest was a good example of that. I love Josh O'Connor. I really wanted to see The Mastermind. I did not really like The Mastermind, but some of my favorite critics loved The Mastermind, and I wish that wasn't my final film. So probably go on plot, probably go on synopsis, because there are a few more better examples of world cinema. Like there were loads of Arab films at the festival that I didn't get to see for a number of reasons. One, because they weren't running during my session, but then also because they got taken up very quickly because they had less screenings. So definitely make the most of it. Don't see films that you know you're going to see in 2 months' time anyway. See films that you know you're probably not going to get to see because they won't get distributed where you are.
That's a good point.
That's a good way of looking at it. I think there was an element for me. I wish I'd done that when I did the London Film Festival as well.
Yeah, me too, though. Me too.
Got on top of the hype train for a few of the films there. I was like, I've got to see that, even though, yes, I probably would have seen that in the next 2 months.
Well, like, who can blame you? I mean, it's your first time doing one of those festivals. I mean, your curiosity is going to be like at its peak. You gotta have a look and see what it's like, haven't you?
Absolutely. But that's kind of one of the reasons, like, everybody was trying to get a ticket to the Phoenician scheme, right? Which I still haven't seen. I'm hopefully going to see it next week, but I mean the global release was only like a couple of days later, but loads of people like desperate for tickets. But because I think some people were trying to see it because it wasn't going to come out in their country for a while, right? So I think that makes a lot more sense, right? Whereas I think somebody was saying that there were similar things the year prior, because Kinds of Kindness was at Cannes the year before, and a lot of Americans were trying to see that film and they got annoyed because they were going to get the film first anyway, like let other people go and see the film. But sorry, in terms of advice, I think just be really sure what you want to see. And something we haven't really touched on is like the ticketing system at Cannes, which maybe I don't want the flashbacks to the ticketing system at Cannes, to be fair, but it is kind of just like living on Ticketmaster, refreshing that page again and again and again. So just be prepared for that frustration, because the supply really does not match up to the demand, for sure.
Gotcha. And how quick do you know? Like, is it a day in advance, 2 days in advance? Do you know you're going to the screen, or is it on the day?
It's a little generous at the beginning, but then from what I understand, there's been mishaps every year, and there were mishaps this year as well. When you're managing something like that, I think you only find out the full screening schedule for the entirety a week before ticketing opens, and then your specific open time for your tickets is 4 days before each screening. I believe, and then you've got to do it at like 8 a.m. French time, so you've got to sit there refreshing, and you're not technically allowed to swap tickets technically. Okay. But from what we understand, no matter your accreditation, press, filmmaker, anything, everyone swaps tickets, you know. And it's a weird one because you've got to do it based on trust, because if your QR code doesn't get scanned, you get banned from the system. You can't access the ticketing system. Wow. So if you share it with someone, you're mutually sharing QR codes for mutual like benefits. It's very tense with strangers you don't know. So, you know, it's a lot. But
Black
I think
market of Cannes,
yeah, it definitely was black market of Cannes for sure. But I think they're aware of these things, and that it all adds to the hype, doesn't it? Like wanting to exchange tickets like that. But yeah, in summary, I'd say, you know, definitely be prepared to apply as soon as it opens. Be very selective with the films that you want to see, because, you know, it's a hard one to get out there in the first place, and it's not a cheap place, I guess. And then also know that the ticket system isn't fabulous ahead of time. Yeah.
And how doable is 6 films in a day? I've done 4, and that was a lot.
6 was crazy. Yeah, four was a lot. Do you know what it is? It's because at London Film Festival, the first showing time's like, 11 a.m., something like that.
Mm-hmm.
In Cannes, the first showing time's 8 a.m. So it runs the whole way through. And then there's midnight screenings as well. So I think, my first day was a sixth film day. First screening was 8 a.m. Last screening was 10 p.m. And then I got out of there like 11:30 or something like that. So yeah, It was long. Is it doable? If you really want it to be, I think it is.
For anybody who's listened to the show before, you'll know that we very occasionally do a series called The Films That Streaming Forgot. And it's something we want to do a little bit more of now because we just got some really amazing new artwork done by our graphic designer, Alfie Hunter Martin. So we're like, we want to do more episodes now. Yeah. So we thought it would be a great moment to ask Jannat to bring a film. So our kind of criteria for this section is it's got to be on one of the major kind of streaming platforms, and it's got to be something that like nobody's really heard of. The idea behind this series this is like scraping the barrel of it's the bargain bin of the streaming world. What has just been dropped on there that has maybe had one person watch it at some point, and we're going to find those films and talk about them. So Jannat, what's the film that you've found for us for our future series or future episode of this series?
I think I don't know if it quite fits now, but you guys can be the judge. It's Youth in Revolt from 2009. It's a film starring Michael Cera, which doesn't sound very bargain bin, I know, but like very, very low watch rate, I think, that film. 2009, I say low watch rate, but I've got an A2 poster of the film in my bedroom, so I'm a big fan of the film. But
right beside the Canne poster.
yeah, it's huge. It's like cinema size. It's ridiculous. But it was I'd never heard of the film. My partner introduced me to it as a film that he really loved, and he found it in the same way that you guys are promoting this. It was just a random film on streaming. Okay. I think at the time it was on Netflix. I think now it's on Prime and Apple TV. I want to say that that's correct. That film is just a bit of a crazy one, doppelganger kind of genre, so it's a lot of fun.
I feel like I remember this a little bit, and
same. Yeah,
I'm wondering,
like it was definitely in the Revolution. I was in like the background. I remember seeing this when it came out, but never seen this one before, which is perfect, right?
Yeah, perfect. As long as you guys think it fits, that's fine.
No, it does, because I hadn't even thought about Youth in Revolt in years. So it's been dropped onto a streaming service somewhere, and we will now go in. And maybe, Chris, this could be one that we actually like this time.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not like we didn't want this to be an exploitative segment where it's like, let's just shit on this for half an hour. If actually it ends up being a good time, and that's a bloody bonus.
Absolutely.
Well, I hope it is one that you like. I hope it is.
Oh, I hope so too. I'm really happy about that. Looking forward to that. I'll watch any kind of Michael Cera film. I'm a big fan of his.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
He gets awkward comedy just perfect.
He's like American Richard Ayoade, I think,
Yes. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, funny that they didn't work together, but he did work with Jesse Eisenberg, which I guess has always been seen as like a bit of a, bit of a duo. Very similar kind of actors.
Sure.
I'm just looking up this movie right now. I love the aesthetic. I remember like the late 2000s where every movie was orange. It's just like
every movie was orange. And also has a great soundtrack too. Great soundtrack.
Oh, good to hear. Like I miss that Adam McKay like late 2000s aesthetic. We need it back. Hot Rod, Step Brothers.
I love Hot Rod so much. I love that film.
Oh yeah, you're in good company here. We love that movie so much. The funniest fall ever in a movie that just goes on for minutes. It seems forever.
And I also love anything that Will Arnett is in as well. I love that guy.
Yeah, no, babe, no.
We quote that all the time as a family. That silly scene. We love that. We love it so much.
Well, Jannat, thank you for coming on the show. Do you want to plug where everybody can find your work, where we can keep on following you and reading your film criticism and maybe even if you've got some kind of other BFI show coming up?
I would love to. At the moment, I'm predominantly on Instagram and Substack. The Amateurs Take on Instagram, and then the amateurstake.substack.com on Substack as well. As you can see behind me, I have loads of film publications. So I'm actually doing a personal project over the next couple of months, kind of spotlighting film in print, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I think that these things are very special and not enough people know about them. Not because I've spent a lot of money on them or anything like that. Nothing to do with that at all. But that's primarily what I'll be doing. Nothing on the BFI front yet to report, but as soon as I do, you'll be able to see it on my Instagram. So yeah.
Brilliant. And I want to mention one of your I guess it's on Instagram, it's an Instagram reel, but also it was on TikTok as well, where you went to kind of an independent cinema. Are you going to be doing any more of that series? I thought that was a really interesting idea.
I will be. I admittedly can kind of put a spanner in the works a little bit, but I think 2 weeks from now, next episode of that should be out, and then hopefully a lot more over the summer. There's just so many little countryside cinemas here in Yorkshire to explore. So yes, Cinephile on tour will be coming back for sure.
Yeah.
Nice. And then this again, I appreciate we've asked you to plug your work and I'm still asking you questions, but
okay.
I've really gotten into Substack recently and I keep wondering, should I be on it? I'm on it, but like, should I be writing things? How do you find Substack as a platform? Do you think it's like the place to be for the kind of people maybe starting their kind of film writing journeys at the moment?
I think starting film writing journey for sure. I think not to kind of end on a little bit of a cynical note, but it has kind of turned into a bit of a social media platform more than anything else. There are already alternatives to it. It's very American right now, very American. It's kind of hard to thrive as a British voice, and also very saturated. So I think if you have an existing audience, it's great. And if you are looking to kind of expand with long form, it's great. But unless you're constant, like any social media platform, I don't think it pays off the same way. It is a little bit harder, but also anything long form is harder, right? Yes. So there's also that.
I know that's long form, but Letterboxd was sort of like that at the beginning too. Do you agree? True. Like, because is it 2013 I started recognizing that Letterboxd was a thing. There's a couple of cinephile nerds in our class that kind of got into it, and you could write big pieces and people would read them. And now it's like, well, can you write the funniest thing? And I'm like, no one's ever going to read.
Do I fall for that sometimes? Yeah, I want to write a funny one-liner and I want 10 likes on my Letterboxd review as well, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are really funny, so like it's worth doing, but I'm not that funny.
You're right. No, I think you are. I think you're funny. I think there's definitely some like big critics that will post their long-form reviews on there. But then you see the same kind of thing on Substack right now. You know, it feels like it was meant to be a place where people that didn't have a platform could have a platform. But I mean, you've got massive celebrities who are now like migrating over to Substack and getting that like orange check mark now, not the blue one, orange one for Substack, right? There's a lot of like future of Substack discourse at the moment that is just like any social media, gets a little bit overwhelming and everyone's got an opinion, but it's just a social platform at the end of the day. Or, I mean, last thing I'll say is they have video content on there now. So
yeah, I saw that.
How much of a writing platform is it? Like there's a Reels tab. So, so there's that.
All social media just copies each other after a while, doesn't it? It's like,
It does. There's like a Twitter adjacent notes thing as well, which I've just decided I'm not going to do anymore because I'm off Twitter. So I don't want to be on notes now instead as like a supplement. But I don't want to be all like rain clouds over it. I think it is, if you have a passion for writing long form, and by long form these days that means like 500 words or more, right? Anything like that, I think it is a good place to start. It is easy to adapt and build into something, and there are pretty cool people on there already. So it's a good place to start.
I just kind of want to flex my writing muscle again. Like, but prior to the podcast, I had a film blog. This was very, this was like 2011, 2012.
Okay.
Called Alex's Essential Movie Blog.
I love that. I don't know why
I called it that. But
I'm tired of alliterative Substack phrases. Just say what it is. Just tell me what it is. That's fine.
Well, apparently it's
still out
essential,
there.
so we have to get on there.
It's essential. Yeah, it's essential.
So that was I came up with that before I'd even written one post. Who knows what I was thinking? But yeah, I kind of just want to get back into that. So I don't know whether to do it via the film angle or not. But anyway, that's podcast production meeting over. But yeah, maybe we've come to Substack too late, or thinking about it too late. Why are we always doing this, Chris?
I think there's always a boom, and then you feel like you've missed the boom. Like social media FOMO is never going to end. I mean, I joined it a year ago, and I felt like I had missed the boom, but now there's another boom. So I don't think there's ever a bad time. Really, there's never a bad time. But I think if you just want somewhere where you can just quickly start at home, like you're saying, just like to flex that writing muscle, then yeah, that's the place to do it. Admittedly, I haven't done a lot of Substack work for a little while now. If it's just for fun and it's just for like self-development, yeah, that's the place to do it for sure.
There you go. Who knows, guys? Maybe a film angle Substack is going to be coming soon, but we'll go from there. Talking of things coming soon, we better talk a little bit about our next episode, Chris. If everything goes right, next episode, we are going to be doing our first ever video podcast. So
yes. I mean, I've ordered the teeth whitening. It should be arriving tomorrow. Yeah, that'll be interesting. We're really going to cut our teeth on that, and hopefully it works out. I imagine it's going to be heavy on the editing. But
it'll be our first time, so everybody be kind to us. If everything goes well, it'll be out next week. If you don't see an episode next week, then you'll know something went wrong. But we did a little test. We got a green screen going, and hopefully you won't just be able to see that on YouTube. It'll also be part of Spotify as a video podcast as well. We're going to give it all a go. As you can tell, very inspired by my recent trip to the podcast show. So yeah, that's the next episode coming, and we'll go from there. Thank you, Jannat, for joining us on the Film Angle this week. It's been great to have you. That has been the episode for this week. If you've enjoyed it, make sure to leave us a 5-star rating or review. We do really appreciate it. And if you'd like to keep up to date with us, make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and who knows, maybe Substack in the future, at The Film Angle.
We also have a Film Angle playlist. If you want to listen to what we listen to, you can find that in the show notes. Be sure to catch us next week for more cinematic discussions. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.